Hello and welcome back to our Yakuza 4 Remastered playthrough. In our last episode we started Kiryu's story in Okinawa, where Hamazaki had somehow survived being shot multiple times, the monstrous fall into the ocean from above while in a death grip with the prison official, and drifted his way, ironically, straight down to the beach in front of Morning Glory Orphanage. Good for him. So we found him, we dragged him inside, bandaged him up. Haruka went off her mind, went off her little tree, when she found out that he was there, as he had stabbed Kiryu in the back at the very end of Yakuza 3. And she'd been there and witnessed it and all of that, so she's not terribly impressed that he's there. So Kiryu, being ever the pragmatist, decided to take a little walk with Hamazaki to let tension simmer down. And they were passing the cop shop and found Yasuko standing there, demanding to see her brother. So Kiryu and Hamazaki just smuggled her very quickly away from there and to somewhere which should have been secure, but well, it turned out was not. And yes, Kiryu and Yasuko are on their way to Kamurocho, and somehow Hamazaki got shot in the back several times again, or reopened all his wounds. Who knows? Anyway, we're back in Kamurocho now, and we'll continue on in Little Asia. So we're in the Chinese restaurant, and Xiao says, "Leaving already, Ma-chan?" Tanimura says, "You know, Zhao-san, you've been a better friend to me than I've ever been to you." Zhao says, "Don't be ridiculous. You know that's not true." "I'm just sorry the truth turned out to be so harsh. Your father murdered by another man on the force. I can barely believe it." Tanimura says, "You're telling me." Zhao says, "Something about all this doesn't sit well with me. How will your father's spirit ever find peace?" Tanimura says, "I think he'll be just fine." Zhao says, Tanimura says, "Chief Hisai, Sugiyuchi-san, they were tired of being used by Munakata and Katsuragi all these years." Zhao says, Tanimura goes on, "The two of them spent their whole lives serving others, but their final moments, those were theirs and theirs alone. They went out following their own brand of justice." Zhao says, "Ma-chan." Tanimura continues, "Sugiyuchi-san must have known, telling me of what happened 25 years ago was signing his own death warrant. But he did it anyway. And Chief Hisai, he took his own life in order to spare you, me, and Mei Hua." Zhao says, "That explains what he said into the phone before he shot himself. Both of them will be dealt with." Tanimura says, "Yeah, Chief Hisai told Munakata I was dead, so he'd stop coming after me. He spared my life so that I could do what's right, so that I could do what he never could." Zhao says, "You mean bring Munakata down?" Tanimura nods, "Exactly." Zhao asks, "But how are you going to do that, Ma-chan? Munakata's one of the most powerful men in one of the top police institutions in the world." Tanimura says, "Well, I don't think I'll be getting much help from my fellow officers, that's for sure." "Probably not. Akiyama walks in and says, "Ni hao." Tanimura says, "Akiyama-san." Akiyama says, "Phew, the shit's really hit the proverbial fan, huh?" Tanimura says, "You're telling me. Anyway, what's up? You wouldn't swing by here without a good reason." Akiyama says, "Sometimes it's depressing how sharp you are." Tanimura asks, "What happened?" Akiyama says, "The district attorney's goon showed up at my office, started tearing the place apart at the seams. Not to mention, they chucked me out on the street." Tanimura says, Wait, they're investigating Sky Finance? On what grounds?" Akiyama says, "They said they're looking into some kind of coercion. The exact term is eluding me at the moment. Anyway, the issue is my tests. They said I'm forcing people to do stuff they don't want to do in exchange for money. Classic coercion case, I guess." Tanimura laughs. "It's like I can hear the words coming out of the DA's mouth himself." Akiyama says, "Anyway, I didn't know where else to turn, so I thought I'd drop by here." "Looks like I caught you at a bad time, though. Want me to come back later?" Tanimura says, "No, your timing actually couldn't be better." Akiyama asks, "Oh yeah?" Tanimura says, "Yeah, I need a hand with something, Akiyama-san."
Kiryu-san.
一見普通だが、どうやらいつものカムロ町って感じじゃないな。あんまり悠長にしている暇はなさそうだ。すぐにあんたのお兄さんを探そう。だがとりあえずその前にあんたに言っておきたいことがある。ちょっとついてきてくれ。
So, Kiryu's back in Kamurocho. Kiryu thinks to himself, can't think of a better place to talk than New Serena. He then says, "Yakuza-san, there's a bar near here that I used to go to back in the day. You can catch our breath there for a bit." Yasuko says, "Okay, I'll follow your lead." Back to Serena we go. Oh, there's 3 dudes in a truck out the front of it. Kiryu thinks to himself, what's this truck doing here? Is someone moving? Man in a suit says, head up the stairs in the alley around the back and tear Sky Finance to shreds. We're not leaving until we haul out every last document they've got. And whatever they try and say, just tell them we're under orders from the district attorney's office. That's all they need to know. Now get a move on. Kiryu thinks to himself, the DA? I wonder what happened. Well, we'll just go in. Or not. Oh yeah, no, we can.
Kiryu! 伊達さん、久しぶりだな。
Date says, what's going on, Kiryu? You show up in a guy's bar and don't even drop him a line first. Kiryu says, sorry for not letting you know, Date-san. I have some business in town. Date says, work never ends for the ex-fourth chairman, huh? Kiryu says, you've got that right. Anyway, this is Saejima Yasuko. I'm here helping her with a little something.
Domo.
Yasuko says, it's nice to meet you. Date says, oh, the pleasure's all mine. She's a knockout, Kiryu. How'd you end up bringing a girl like her back here, huh? Kiryu says, whatever you're thinking, I guarantee you've got the wrong idea. Let's leave it at that. By the way, where's Mama? Date says, gone for the week. Family trouble, you know how it goes. And Kiryu says, and you're holding down the fort while she's gone? Date says, yep, it's a real pain, what with my other work and all, but she insists we keep it open for the regulars. Kiryu says, lucky for us that she does. Date says, now Kiryu, what's this little something you need to take care of? Kiryu says, all right. You mind taking a seat, Yasuko-san? Yasuko says, Kiryu says, please, I just need to ask you something before we head out to find your brother. Yasuko says, okay. And they sit down. Yasuko asks, so what is it you want to ask me? Kiryu says, sorry if this is a blunt question, but why do you need to see your brother so badly? Bad enough to murder for it. Date says, wait, you what? Yasuko says, Kiryu-san, is this really the best place to... Kiryu says, don't worry about Date-san. He's an ex-detective, yes. We can trust him, I promise. He'd never turn you in without hearing what you had to say first. Isn't that right, Date-san? Date says, well, yeah, that's right. Kiryu says, now tell me the truth, Yasuko-san. Why would you go so far for your brother? Yasuko bows her head and says, Kiryu says, Yasuko-san. Date says, come on. Yasuko says, it's because Taiga is everything to me. I owe him my life. Kiryu asks, what? Yasuko says, I'm serious. If it weren't for him, I would have died years ago. Kiryu says, go on. Yasuko asks, have you ever heard of a living donor kidney transplant? Date says, oh yeah, you read about those things all the time. That's when they give you a kidney from one of your relatives, right? They say you only need one, after all. Yasuko says, right. The truth of it is, I'm the recipient of one of those living donor transplants. Date says, and your brother's the one who gave it to you, huh? Kiryu says, that's what you meant when you said you owe him your life. Yasuko says, yes. You know, it's rude not to drink your drink when it's in front of you, dear. Just saying. Anyway, Date says, hold on. Getting a transplant like that from your sibling isn't all that uncommon. I'm not judging or anything, but do you really owe him that much just for a kidney? Yasuko says, it's not that simple. Kiryu asks, think you could explain? Yasuko says, the kidney I got, it wasn't Taiga's. He wasn't a match. Date asks, what, different blood types? Yasuko says, well, yes, but... Date asks, but what? Why couldn't you get the transplant from your brother? Kiryu asks, Yasuko-san? Yasuko says, Kiryu says, I think I get what's going on here. You and Taiga aren't actually siblings. Date says, Kiryu. Yasuko says, he's right. Taiga is my stepfather's son from his prior marriage, while my mother had me before she and my stepfather even met. Date asks, then where did you find your match? Yasuko says, since my mother had already passed, Taiga tracked down my biological father and begged him to donate his kidney to me. Kiryu says, Saejima. Yasuko says, beyond the regular difficulty of finding a kidney donor, my blood type is extremely rare. A direct relative was my only hope of a match. Once Taiga learned that, he spent every waking moment of his life scouring the city until he found my father. He was only 15 years old at the time. Date says, still just a kid, huh? Yasuko says, I had honestly given up hope. Before my mother died, she told me my father was nothing more than an abusive drunk with no chance of ever changing. Based on what I knew, it seemed likely he was already dead. Even if he wasn't, I didn't want to live knowing I owed my life to such a horrible man. At the time, I would have rather died than continue on carrying a part of him inside me. Kiryu says nothing. Yasuko continues, but Taiga wouldn't take no for an answer. He said no matter what happened, he would take care of me. Date says, then he found your dad? Yasuko says, yes. Date asks, well, where was he? Yasuko replies, in Kansai. He had started working for a Yakuza organization called the Army Alliance, handling the dirty jobs no one else wanted to touch. Date gasps, the Army? Yasuko says, that's right. Taiga went to learn to Kansai, knowing full well that my father was a Yakuza, but Kiryu says, let me guess, they tried to extort him. Yasuko says, exactly. A Yakuza through and through, my father demanded a massive sum of money in exchange for one of his kidneys. Date asks, how much cash are we talking here? Yasuko says, 30 million yen. Date gasps, 30 mil? That's a ton now, but it was a fortune back then. How was a kid ever supposed to get his hands on that kind of money? Yasuko replies, he wasn't, that was the point. But Taiga didn't give up. He started fighting thugs in the streets of Kamurocho, trying to scrape together whatever funds he could. Date says that would never work, not for cash like that. Yasuko agrees, it didn't. Not until Sasai-san from the Tojo clan stepped in. He gave Taiga the 30 million under one condition. He joined the Sasai family. Kiryu says, so that's how he ended up in the Tojo. Yasuko says, all that time, Taiga never turned his back to me. Even when it seemed like all hope was lost, he supported me. He dropped out of high school, gave up on his dream of becoming a teacher, even joined the Yakuza for me. Kiryu says, so that's what you meant when you said you owe him your life. Yasuko says, that's right, he's everything to me. Not only did Taiga literally save my life, but he gave me the will to keep on living. Kiryu says, Yasuko-san.
正直言うと、兄が18人殺した犯人とか、そうじゃないとか、真犯人が別にいるとか、そんなのはどうでもいいんです。私にとってお兄ちゃんはお兄ちゃんだから。
あんたにはここで待っていてもらう。少しこの店で頭を冷やした方がいい。
え？あ？何言ってんだキリュウ。こんなに切実に会いたがってるってのに。
安子さん、もし冴島がすでに死んでいたとしたら、あんたどうするつもりだ？死ぬ気なんじゃないのか？え？
Kiryu says, Yasuko-san, you keep saying you owe Taiga your life, and I get it. We all rely on other people. It's hard to keep going without someone loving you, supporting you, pushing you onward. But in your case, Taiga became more than that. He's not just your support, he's your reason to keep living. Yasuko says, Kiryu goes on, I know life hasn't been easy for you. Losing your parents is one of the worst pains imaginable, and you had to bear that burden at a far younger age than most. But having a hard life doesn't excuse the way you've lived. Yasuko grits her teeth. Kiryu continues, not that I have any right to talk. I've made my fair share of mistakes. Date says, Kiryu. Yasuko has no words. Kiryu says, I understand why you feel so strongly, but that emotion has led you to some bad decisions. It's not a stretch to say it's completely clouded your judgment. So, I need you to stay here while I go figure out where your brother is. It's for your own good. Yasuko says, but... Date says, Kiryu. Kiryu says, don't worry, I'll find him, but I'll make sure you two are reunited, I promise. But for now, you just need to be patient, okay? Yasuko nods. Yes, thank you. Kiryu says, thank you, Yasuko-san. He starts walking towards the door, then turns back. Speaks to Date-san. Take care of her for me, will you? Date says, do you even have to ask? And Kiryu leaves the bar. We now have access to a hideout. Here you can save your game, move items to the item box, reminisce on past events, and view your playstats. Furthermore, your health will recover while at a hideout. Now we just need to find Saejima in Kamurocho. Date-san has come out down the lift and out the front, and he says, hold on a sec, Kiryu. Kiryu asks, what's wrong? Date says, there's something I need to tell you. Couldn't really say it in there. Kiryu asks, does it involve Yasuko-san? Date says, you bet. If she found out about this, she'd just end up getting herself into more trouble. Kiryu asks, well, what is it? Date says, well, you only just got here, so you probably haven't noticed, but the whole town's been kinda on edge lately. Kiryu asks, because of Saejima? Date says, partially, I'm sure, but there's more to it than that. Word on the street is Majima and Saejima linked up a few days ago. Kiryu asks, what? Date says, yep. I hear Majima had his boys line the whole damn street to keep the cops off Saejima. Kiryu says, huh, so they've already met. Speaking of Date-san, do you know where I can find Majima-san? I need to talk to him as soon as possible. Not just about Saejima. Majima-san might be able to tell me more about the connection between the top police brass, Jingu, and the Tojo clan. Date asks, the police? What are you talking about? Kiryu says, sorry, but I can't say much more than that. Just know that people are gunning for the Tojo. And no matter what's going down, I need to hear Majima-san's side of the story. Date says, alright, last I heard he's taken root up on the top floor of the Millennium Tower. Starting there is your best bet. Kiryu says, great, thanks Date-san. And Date-san returns to the bar. Kiryu thinks to himself, I got an email. I have a feeling it's, no? Well, that's an interesting email address. Rematch from 4 years ago. Kiryu, come to Yoshida Batting Center. Let's finish what we started 4 years ago. Well, it's not Haruka. Kiryu thinks to himself, 4 years ago, huh? That could be just about anybody. Guess I'll find out what it's about if I drop by Yoshida Batting Center. Well, let's go see Yoshi P then. Another email. To my dear apprentice. Komaki here. It's been ages, Kiryu. If you're here in Kamurocho, come see me. I'll be waiting at my dojo in the Dragon Palace. Kiryu thinks to himself, it's a text from Master Komaki. I wonder if he had one of his apprentices write this. Komaki Dojo is inside the Dragon Palace on Park Boulevard. I should probably stop by when I have the time. Yes, I remember that bloke too. Yuya says, look, I get where you're coming from. Just calm down for 1 second, Shinya. Shinya says, you don't get a damn thing. You're too soft, man. Yuya has no words. Shinya says, you know the rules, Yuya-san. If a customer ducks out on their bill, it's the host's responsibility. Mitsuru knew that when he let his girl run up that huge tab. Yuya says, you're not wrong. Those are the rules. I've seen it happen time and again in this biz. And sure, I'm being easy on Mitsuru, but he deserves a little slack with how hard he works. Besides, the kid's a real high earner for us. We just gotta let this one mistake slide. He'll learn from it, and we'll all be better off in the long run. But for now, yeah, of course I'm gonna help him. Shinya says, and what, Stardust is just gonna eat the 5 million he lost? Yuya says, he'll pay it, don't worry, just not yet. Hitting him with all that at once would bankrupt the poor kid. Shinya says, come on, are you going to bail out everyone who fucks up from now on? Stardust will go under in the blink of an eye. Kazuki-san would never have left this bullshit slide. Yuya sighs as Shinya walks off. Kiryu says, hey Yuya, problem so big you had to take it outside, huh? Yuya says, Kiryu-san, I didn't know you were back in town. Kiryu replies, just for a bit while I take care of some business. Yuya says, well, I would have dropped by with a gift or two if you'd let me know first. Kiryu laughs, don't sweat it, we've known each other for too long to be worried about those kinds of formalities. By the way, how are things going at the club? You and that kid didn't really look like you were seeing eye to eye. Yuya says, sorry you had to see that, Kiryu-san. Kiryu asks, so, what's going on? Yuya says, it's this host we have, Mitsuru. He let one of his customers run out on a 5 million yen tab. Kiryu says, ouch, I hear that's a pretty common thing though. Yuya nods, it is. Mitsuru's one of the hardest workers we've got too, and I can't even begin to tell you how much business he's brought in. He just got kinda unlucky this time, so I want to give him a hand somehow if I can. Kiryu says, that's the Yuya I know. Yuya says, I just dunno, Kiryu-san. You think I'm too soft on them? Shinya seems to think so. Pretty sure Kazuki-san's called me soft at least once too. Is wanting to help my hosts out really so bad? Kiryu says, Yuya. Yuya says, but hey, you don't need to hear all this. I should be getting back inside anyway. Gotta do my part to keep Stardust the top host club in Kamurocho. I appreciate you lending an ear though, Kiryu-san. Thanks. Kiryu thinks to himself, Maybe I should head inside and see what Kazuki has to say about this. Oh, wait, I can. He doesn't appear to be here. He's not one of the draw cards. That seems problematic. Anyway, let's head inside. That is a big disco ball. Anyway, we're standing on the balcony above everything with Kazuki-san. Kiryu says, "It's been a while, Kazuki." Kazuki says, "Oh, Kiryu-san, it sure has." Kiryu asks, "How are things going?" Kazuki says, "Well enough, I guess." Kiryu asks, "You guess? Are you worried about what's going on with Yuya and Shinya?" Kazuki asks, "Huh? You heard about that?" Kiryu says, "Yeah, I saw them going at it outside the club earlier." Kazuki says, "Sorry you had to see that. Not exactly the image we want to project to the world. Even though he's the manager now, Yuya can still get a bit hot under the collar at times." Kiryu says, "I wouldn't worry about it. It's nice to see a man have passion for his work, and it seems to me he has it in spades." Kazuki says, "Agreed. That's why I chose to let him take over as manager. I knew I could count on him when things went south." Kiryu says, "Speaking of which, what do you think he should do about the whole tab situation?" Kazuki said, "Like I said, Yuya's the manager now, so I fully stand behind whatever decision he makes, of course, but..." Kiryu asks, "But what?" Kazuki says, "Well, a lot of times when a host lets a customer run up a big tab like that, he has some kind of ulterior motive." Kiryu says, "Oh?" Kazuki says, "That's my opinion, at least. No matter how young, green, or easy to manipulate a customer may be, it doesn't make sense to advance someone that kind of credit. 5 million yen is no small amount." Kiryu says, "Still, it's not unheard of." Kazuki says, "True enough. Usually, though, it's a case of the host needing to boost his sales figures. The easiest way to accomplish this is to pressure a customer into ordering pricey drinks. But for some reason, I don't believe that was the case this time. Honestly, I have the feeling Mitsuru was set up." Kiryu says, "Set up? Who would do something like that?" Kazuki says, "Good question. Even if that were the case, though, I can't simply take matters into my own hands. Yuya is the manager, which means he's the one who needs to handle these kinds of problems." Kiryu says, "I guess what happens to Mitsuru all depends on Yuya's skill as a manager then." Probably not the best time to be dancing Yuya, but anyway. Kazuki says, "You know, at times I think Yuya is too kind for this job." Kiryu says, And he's gone back outside now and he's saying to thin air apparently, "Maybe Kazuki's right. Sometimes Yuya is really too nice for his own good." Right, now where to go? No. Could go to the batting centre. We could, no, Mark Bowl isn't where we want to go. No, not Club Sega, not Orca Palace. Alright, oh, okay. Well, there's Dragon Palace anyway. But, first things first. I did promise that karaoke would be a thing. So let's go make karaoke a thing. Just in case it doesn't come up through the course of the story. Okay, it's a double finishing blow, a devastating strike executed after a finishing blow. And just leave it at that in case Kamaki-san decides that we need to learn some stuff of his. Man says, I want to be a boxer someday, and you know, I could use you for my training. As a punching bag, that is. Now stand still and smack the stuffing out of you. Well, if you have to. Yep, you do look slightly worth the worse for wear, sir. The man says, please stop hitting me. I ain't cut out to be a punching bag. Here's your trainer's fee. We got a prim and proper torriner. Sure. We should get some sponsored sushi at some point as well. Man says, there's this hostess, okay? I want to tell her my valiant tales of my glorious fighting skills. Mind if I smack you around a little? Feel free to dial down the intensity on your end. Okay. Oh, yeah, your dentist is going to be so happy, mate. He'll be able to put a down payment on a new aeroplane. Man says, I never expected this. Please don't tell anyone what a loser I am. Here, take this. We got a great toughness Z. And you were just standing there the whole time and did nothing to stop these goons. Okay. The employee says, hello sir, the fee is 500 yen for one person. Shall I show you to your room? Why not? Kiryu says, alright, let's see. Employee says, very well, this way please. Karaoke rules. Karaoke is a rhythm game in which you press buttons shown on screen in time with the song. Simply press the indicated button when the cursor reaches it. Make sure to press the correct buttons at the right time to get the most points. The better your timing, the more points you will get. If your timing is really off, your press won't count, even if it was the correct button. Do your best to keep time with the song to rack up the points and get a high score. Complete the game by singing, or letting your partner sing, a song from start to finish. Familiarize yourself with each song and perfect your technique as you aim for a new high score. You can choose to switch between English and Japanese lyrics in the options menu. Fine. Kiryu says to himself, let's see here. Some interesting songs. Here are the top 10 requested songs. Okay. I see. Let's see what we can do to this. Okay. Yes, that little pink cat is laughing at me. Oh, we're at Karaoke Pro. Style, passionate, 63% great, 70% good, 4% bad. Score, 760. Yeah, I'm not getting top 3. Ever. Alright, I can honestly say we've done karaoke in Yakuza 4. So that will be enough for now. Let's keep moving. You'll be saying screw my boss out loud where everyone can hear you. Just saying. The delivery boy says just calm down, okay? The foreman says it's normal to feel crabby when you're hungry because your brain speeds up the release of adrenaline as it tries to raise blood sugar. The delivery boy says that's very informative. Foreman says, in other words, there's a whole lot of adrenaline running through our systems right now, if you get what I'm saying. The delivery boy has no words. Kiryu asks, something wrong? The delivery boy says, oh, it's really nothing. Okay, it's actually something, but I'll take care of it somehow. Kiryu says, if you're sure, and starts walking off. The delivery boy shouts, no, wait, sorry, but I really do need some help here. Kiryu asks, what kind of help? The delivery boy says, you see, I was just about to deliver these guys their lunches. I work delivery part-time. The thing is, I crashed my bike. Totally wrecked the thing. Their lunches got wrecked too. Now I don't know what I'm going to do. The foreman says, first of all, quit dragging random people into this. You sure know how to cause a scene, kid. The delivery boy says, but wait. The foreman says, I'm sorry, buddy. Don't worry about this. The delivery boy says, no, don't go. Help me out here. Kiryu says, man, how do I keep getting dragged into these things? Are you really sure the lunches are ruined? The delivery boy says, I guess the rice is still pretty much edible, but the side dishes are a complete loss. And nobody wants a lunch of just rice, right? Sure, it's simple and zen and all that, but you've got to have side dishes. The foreman says, obviously. Kiryu asks, then why don't you go pick up some side dishes around here? It's going to be expensive, but it's your responsibility after all. The delivery boy says, oh, man, that is like the perfect idea. Why didn't I think of that? You're a genius, man. The foreman says, good one, buddy. Kiryu says, all right, well, good luck, kid. The delivery boy says, thanks, man, and bows incredibly deeply. And shouts straight after us again. The delivery boy cries, ow! Kiryu turns back, but has nothing to say. The delivery boy says, sorry, looks like I hurt my leg in that crash. Yet you got here. Kiryu again has nothing to say. The delivery boy says, ouch, my leg must be broken. It hurts like hell when I put my weight on it. Kiryu says, if it was broken, you couldn't stand up. The delivery boy continues, anyways, I really feel bad asking and all. Would you go get the food for me? Kiryu has no words for this. You big sook. Kiryu says, guess I've got to see this through. Fine, kid, I'll help you out. The delivery boy says, really? Dude, you mean it? Kiryu thinks to himself, this kid is starting to get on my nerves. He then asks, what kind of lunch was it supposed to be? The delivery boy says, it was a curry lunch. Like I said, the rice is still okay, but the sauce is a mess. Apologies for Dawn. Kiryu says, curry, huh? So I guess that's what I should go look for then. The foreman says, sorry buddy, we really hate to put you out like this. The delivery boy says, yeah, sorry about this, but could you make it quick? Could you make it quick? Kiryu says, yeah, just wait here. And starts to walk away again. Kiryu thinks to himself, hurry. I'm pretty sure there's a restaurant or something around here that has it. Yep, the cheapest bleeding curry we can find. Maybe M Store has curry. Let's take a look in M Store. Kiryu says there's something here. We got Taihei Boulevard Locker Key C2. Look at us. Yeah, do you have curry? I do not care how povo it is. Onigiri, bento, steamed bun, soba bun. Take 3 sponsored sushi. But no curry. Yeah, get some cute girls behind your counters too, mate. Man says, look at Mr. High and Mighty. I ain't seen you before, buddy. And I'm going to make it so I sure as shit don't see your sorry ass here ever again. I mean, you're going to try, and that's going to be lovely and all, but... See, you've already lost a tooth. You're a lightweight. Man says, I got a little carried away. Be careful out there and use this if you need to. We got an intact 3,000 yen. Okay. I suppose that's almost another sponsored sushi. Kamurocho de Ichiban Ananas ga Ippai. You might have curry. You have stuff in rice with bowls, so... Oh, yeah. The dude behind the counter says, "Welcome." Kiryu says, "I need to get some curry." Matsuya staff says, "Alright, certainly. What kind would you like?" Kiryu asks, "Can I order it to go?" And if you have some of those packs of just the sauce would be great. Matsuya staff asks, "How about our original curry take-home packs? They are easy to prepare and can be enjoyed in the comfort of your home." Kiryu says, "Sounds good. Could you get me a big box of them?" Matsuya staff says, "Certainly, just a moment, please." "Here you go, sir. We got large curry take-home packs." Kiryu says, "Thanks." Matsuya staff says, "Thank you for visiting Matsuya." Kiryu's gone back outside and thinks to himself, "I've got the sauce, but they're not going to want to eat it cold. They should take it however they like it at this point." Kiryu thinks to himself, "There ought to be a stove I can use at New Serena. I'll run over there and heat it up." I mean, we don't have to. These are workers on a job site. I'm sure they have ways of heating stuff. But if you must... Yes, I thought it was right. I thought it was right in front of New Serena. Yeah, okay. Kiryu asks, "Date, do you mind if I borrow your stove?" Date says, "Help yourself. I never had you pegged for the cooking type, Kiryu." Kiryu says, "I don't have much choice. I have to heat up this curry." Date says, "Well, have at it." Kiryu says, "Thanks, it'll only take a second." We heated up the large curry take-home packs. Kiryu says, "Man, heating up that much curry took longer than I expected. Thanks, Date." Date says, "Sure, no problem. Take care of yourself." Kiryu thinks to himself, "I better hurry back to the construction site." Are we going to be running through Kamurocho carrying a huge saucepan? Apparently not. But anyway. Oh, no, I didn't want to start this, but anyway.
Saejima no兄さん。真島の兄さん。
桐生ちゃん。
おい、どこへ行く？勝手に動くな。
何があったんだ。
うまいことはめられてしもた。これでしばらく身動きが取れへん。
誰にやられた？
大悟や。
なんだって。
堂島大悟や。
大悟が。
おい、勝手に話すな。そこの君を下がりなさい。公務執行妨害で逮捕するぞ。
急げや桐生ちゃん。全部の事件はつながっとる。25年前のやつも100億の事件も安子ちゃんのやつもや。
なんだと。
このままやと俺らの登場会が潰されてまう。それに今は安子ちゃんが危ない。お前しかおらん。あとは頼んだで。
We're going to continue. Because I've got to get this curry to those workers.
そうか。真島を逮捕したか。分かった。あ、冴島靖子の捜索はもう手配済みだ。あとは例のファイルが今どこにあるか、それを探し出せ。あ、頼んだぞ。それじゃあなたのご協力で真島を逮捕することができましたよ。これで真島組の邪魔が入らない。感謝します。さあ、あとはあなたがどう決断するか。それだけです。
数日前の上野清和会との抗争、それに5年前の100億事件、全てがあなた方によって仕組まれていたことだったとは、未だに信じられません。
だがそれが真実です。もう迷ってる時間はありませんよ、六代目。私はね、堂島さん、極道組織というのは社会の必要悪だと思っているんですよ。敗戦後、日本という国の復興を陰で支えてきたのは警察と極道です。それは間違いありません。我々警察は目に見える犯罪から一般人を守り、秩序を築いた。そして極道は目に見えない外敵を水際で叩き、この国を独立国家として成り立たせた。だからね、私は警察だけが正義だなどと言うつもりはありません。警察と極道は今の今まで常に表裏一体、共に同じ道を歩んできたのですから。だが時代は変わった。本来裏の顔であるはずのあなたたちは、組織が巨大化するにつれ本来の立場を忘れ、表の世界に出るようになった。金を稼ごうとする者も増えてきた。巨大な組織には金が必要だ。しかしそれでは何かとお互いに都合も悪い。だから私はそれを本来の形に修正したいだけなんです。あなたさえ良ければ上野清和会は責任を持って潰します。公の力を使ってきれいにね。裏を取り仕切る組織はあまり多くない方がいい。
その条件が荒いというわけですか。
ええ。この荒井を新たに若頭に昇進させて 我々との窓口にしてほしい。組織の運営は新井が取り仕切ります。あなたは6代目として登場会を守ることができる。どうでしょう。あなた方登場会としては本来敵であるはずの我々と手を組める。悪い話じゃないはずですが。
上野清和会はどうするつもりなんですか？
あの桂木という男がバカでないなら、おそらく彼らは彼らで動き出しているはずだ。私以外の警察上層部との取引の材料を確保するためにね。
材料。
25年ぶりの再会だな、冴島。
桂木。
年は取ったがその目は変わらないな。
なんでお前がここにおるんや。
話すのも面倒なくらいいろいろあってね。あんたもいろいろ真島さんから聞かされただろ
お前の目的は何なんや。俺のこと拉致して何になるんや。
まあ心配するな。すぐにあんたを殺そうってわけじゃない。あんたにはまだ生きていてもらうよ。
どうせ殺すんやったら早よやれ。この世にまどろっこしいことして時間使うぐらいやったらいっそ死んだ方がマシや。
ほほう、随分と潔いな。覚悟はできていると。
当たり前じゃボケが。俺は死刑囚や。25年前のあの日、18人も殺した時から覚悟はできとる。
18人殺したね。
何がおかしいんじゃ。
あんたは何にも知らなかったのか。あの25年前の事件。お前は誰一人殺してない。
何言うとるんや。
俺なんだよ、18人殺したのは。お前は誰一人殺すことすらできなかった。ただの間抜けだ。
どういうことや。どういうことなんや桂木。説明せえ。
まあそのことは後でゆっくり教えてやるよ。時間はたっぷりあるからな。
何する気や。
俺としたことがちょっと計画が狂ってしまってね。最初は警察とつるんでこの上に立ってるビルをいただくつもりだったんだが、予定を変更せざるを得なくなったんだよ。新井って男のせいでね。
新井やと。新井って木戸の兄貴分。どういうことや。
まあ事情はゆっくり話すとして、あんたとあんたの妹さんにはまた協力してもらうよ。
妹やと。お前安子をどうするつもりや。
おっと、まだそんな元気があるのか。安心しろ。あんたたちは今の俺たちの生命線だ。殺しはしないさ。あんたたちと例のファイル、それに有り余るほどの軍資金さえ手に入れれば宗像など用なしだ。どうだ、金の方は準備できたのか。
ええ。スカイファイナンスの隠し金庫にあった現金1000億、無事 強奪に成功しました。
お前は
お久しぶりです、冴島さん。
Kiryu says to himself, Majima-san says Yasuko-san's in danger. I have a bad feeling about this. Better get back to New Serena and make sure she's okay. Well, yes, but I do have rapidly cooling curry that I've got to, offload. And I don't think they'll like it having to be warmed up again. So we'll just hurry on back and try to deliver it before they get all needly about it. Oh. A man asks, mind if I ask you for a little advice? You see, I'm in town to have myself a good time and I'm blowing out of cash. So, to make a long story short, why don't you hand over your wallet? Because there's no telling what'll happen if you don't. I mean, I'm not the one wearing a dodgy cardigan, sir. Oh, yeah, that probably hurt a bit. The man says, whoa, that was something else. You sure don't mess around. Sorry about that. Guess I picked on the wrong guy. Take this, will you? We got a regretful 3,000 yen. Can I beat you up again to get some more? Because that's just plain pitiful, really. Yeah, they were outside the Dragon Palace, so I just have to go back this way, hand them back their curry, hello, I have some slightly frozen curry. No? Okay, fine. Whoops. Let that be a lesson, one and all. Always watch where you're going. Still. It must be said that I find it a bit difficult to believe that Majima would allow himself to be captured unless he wanted it so. Anyway, this man says, I'm real pissed off right now. I don't care who they are, I just want to punch someone. You look like you could take a few punches. Alright, I'm going to punch the shit out of you. Well, you can try. Yeah, you... I think you need a funeral director, not a doctor at this point, given the way that your nose just sort of plunged back into your brain off the bitumen. The man says, ouch. I'm sorry. I took my anger out on you for no reason. I'm cooled off now. Here, take this. We got a therapeutic stamina royale. That doesn't look good. Although nothing else is disturbed. Anyway, Kiryu thinks to himself, what the Date-san? We're up in Use Arena at this point, and nothing else seems to be disturbed, so he must have been taken by surprise. Kiryu says, Date-san! Date-san! Date's knocked out, I presume. He says, Kiryu thinks to himself, good, looks like he's coming too. Kiryu says, Date-san. Date says, huh? Oh, Kiryu. Kiryu asks, what happened? Are you okay? Date says, think so. Guess I just blacked out or something. So we've dragged him over to a couch and propped him up, and we're sat beside him. Kiryu asks, you sure you're okay? Date says, my head's still fuzzy as all heck, but yeah, I'll be fine. Kiryu asks, do you remember what happened? Date says, well, you and I had that chat outside, and then I came back in to keep Yasuko-san company while you were gone. Next thing I knew, I was waking up on the floor with you screaming. Kiryu asks, you don't remember anything else? Date says, wait, now that you mention it, Yasuko-san poured us a couple of drinks when I stepped back in. Kiryu asks, drinks? You think there's a chance she drugged you? Date says, can't rule out the possibility. They're still on the counter if you want to have a sip for yourself. I mean, we could just test it on you, then I'll know for sure, and you'll just be back to where you were. Anyway, Kiryu says, I think I'll pass. Anyway, do you have any idea where Yasuko-san might have gone? Date says, not a clue, sorry. Kiryu says, damn it. Date says, look, I'm sorry. I was ready to throw down if some thugs barged in and tried to take her away, but I didn't think Yasuko-san herself would be the one fighting me. Kiryu says, it's not your fault, Date-san. Guess I should probably get looking for her, though. I'll be back. Date says, wait, Kiryu, I'm coming too. Kiryu says, no, I need you to stay here in case she comes back. This is probably the safest place in town at this point. Date says, right, well, good luck out there. Kiryu says, thanks, I'll be back soon. Well, let's just duck out, shall we? We need to find Yasuko. Out the front, Kiryu thinks to himself, no way but forward. Gotta get to Yasuko-san fast. Rain-hating woman says, ugh, I get so exhausted when the weather gets bad. It's like all this rain just saps my energy and ruins my hair. I mean... Champion District. Do I want to know what you two dudes are doing? I don't think so. This bloke who looks like Mozart says, you look like you know a thing or two about fighting. I have a big reward for you if you can beat me. But don't count on that actually happening. You ready? Sure, Mozart, whatever you reckon. Yeah, stun lock. Yeah. Look at that. Not even a single HP lost. I'll never do that again. Mozart says, I can't believe that just happened. You really got the goods, don't you? Here's that reward I promised, but I guarantee you won't be able to do that again. We got a gold-plated toughness emperor. Wow, big spender. Man says, I know this is sudden, but like, will you take a punch for me? I gotta have some real results to go up the ranks in the family, so if I beat up a strong mofo like you, I bet I'll shoot straight to the top. I highly doubt that, sir. See, you're already at the bottom. And says, I never considered how weak I was. I'm sorry. This is for troubling you. We got a weak 10,000 yen. Yay. Man says, what's your deal? Strutting your ass down the middle of my street like that? You must think you're pretty hot shit, huh? Well, don't get too comfy, pal. Why don't you go home and shave whatever that's meant to be off your face? Man says, I guess you got some skills too. This is for you, please forgive me. We got an oil-filled bronze plate. Yay. Aoki says, hey buddy, want to know what's happening around town or if anyone might need a helping hand? I've got your info hookup. Sorry buddy, I've got nothing right now. Check in with me later. Okay. Well, she's not in shellac. Let's check out the bar where the gentleman dresses ladies. Mama says, "Hello, honey. Can I take your order?" No, I'm alright. Thank you. Mama says, "Oh, please stop by again soon." Yes, absolutely won't. Alright, so we've ruled out the champion district. Aha. Well, maybe she's hiding. Do you speak of the Japanese? Hello? No? Okay. Kiryu thinks to himself, must be a Chinese restaurant. Doesn't look like it's in business anymore though. Okay. Park. The park, perhaps. You can always blend in with homeless blokes. All you gotta do is smear a bit of mud around, you know. Man says, "The fuck you gonna do about the contact lens you just stepped on? Now I can't see shit. You better pay up, pea-brain." Perhaps if you had your brow retracted slightly, you might be able to see a bit better. And says, "Ow, I'm sorry, I lied about all that. Yeah, something for your trouble. Sorry." We got a dreamy 5,000 yen. And a free teleport back out onto the road. Closed during the rain. Guess I can't go through here. Yeah. Smooth-skinned man asks, "Why don't we go to the hot spring?" Cold-sensitive woman asks, "Huh? But we wouldn't be able to bathe together. It's not much of a date if we're going in by ourselves, is it?" Smooth-skinned man says, "Go to the foot baths. We don't have to strip or anything, just take off our shoes, and they'll let us go in together." Cold-sensitive woman asks, "What's the point of that? Not much to do when you're just dipping your feet in a bit of water." Smooth-skinned man says, "Actually, it's really good for you. The foot baths warm up the blood vessels in your feet and make your whole body nice and toasty. I hear it can even help with poor circulation and menstrual pain too." Wow. The cold sensitive woman says, wow, sounds good, let's try it. Right after you hear about its soothing menstrual pain. That's a good thing. Kiryu thinks to himself, foot baths at Unisono Hot Springs, huh? Bet the girls at the club would be interested in that. Probably. But we need to find one girl in particular, and she doesn't appear to be forthcoming. Man says, so I came to have fun today, but I just happened to run out of money. Guess I have to spell it out for you. I'm saying you give me all your effing money. I mean, sure. Yeah, that's a nice big iron pipe. Man says, damn, you're strong. The hell are you, man? I'll give you this just to forget about what happened here. We got a cobwebbed toughness emperor. Yay. The Hotel District. Man concerned about rain says, somebody took my umbrella. Wonder if I should just buy a new one. That should be an obvious answer there, sir, so I'm just going to wait and see how long it takes you to figure that out. Don't think I've seen you before, mate. Troubled woman says, after making me wait 2 hours in the rain, he calls me and tells me he's not coming because of the weather. Is this guy serious? Apparently. The troubled youth asks the Kamurocho guard, what the hell is that? You superheroes or something? And he laughs. The volunteer says, eek, no more. Kiryu says, huh? What the? Hey, that's enough. See, weak fools like you trying to act big just pisses me off. Troubled youth asks, and who the hell are you, old man? You'd best stay the fuck out of our business. Kiryu says, so weaklings like you picking on even weaker guys is called business now? Sounds like a pretty shitty business to me. Ill-natured young man says, what did you say? I don't know who you think you are, Gramps, but you're fixing to get a lesson in the art of ass-kicking. Kiryu says, we'll see who will be teaching whom. The ill-natured young man laughs. This old man is actually pretty funny. Alright then, let the lesson start. Kiryu says, shut it and fight already. Unlike you guys, picking on small fry isn't my thing, so let's make this quick and painful. The ill-natured young man laughs. Come on, let's break this guy's mouth so we don't have to hear it anymore. Yep, that's enough out of you, sir. How about your friend now? Oh, he's too busy trying to get away. Too bad he can't. The ill-natured young man says, you think you're gonna get away with this, man? Kiryu says, there are no consequences for stepping on insects like you. Kamurocho Aqua Devil member says, ha! You don't know who you're messing with. You just made enemies with the Kamurocho Aqua Devils. The rest of our team is already on the lookout for your ass. You ain't getting off easy. Sure. Akaishi says, wait. Akaishi says, I heard that you helped one of our members. Oh, you're Kiryu-san. I had a feeling it was you. So you're back in town? Kiryu asks, and you are? Akaishi says, oh, how rude of me. I'm Akaishi from the Kamurocho Guard. We volunteered our efforts in order to maintain peace and order in Kamurocho. I had no idea that I'd be meeting such a legend when I woke up this morning. I've heard so many things about you, it's an honor. I would like to offer you something as thanks for helping us out. Kiryu says, don't need it. I just didn't want to see that go any further. By the way, who were those guys? Akaishi says, a gang with growing influence in the area. Kiryu says, a gang, huh? Akaishi says, for the most part things were relatively quiet when you were here, but after you left, young gangs like that began to multiply. They don't like what we do and take every chance they get to take us down. We've been trying to reason with them, but to no avail. We're still too small to carry out any real preventative measures. Kiryu says, I see. You guys have your work cut out for you. Akaishi says, we'll do anything to make the city we love a better place, but honestly, times in Kamurocho are tough. Either way, this isn't good, Kiryu-san. What you just did back there made you a target as well. Kiryu says, it would appear so, but that's nothing for you to worry about. I don't plan on bothering them, but I don't plan to forgive them either if they try to start something with me. And if they learn their lesson after I'm through, it's better business for you, right? Akaishi says, you have a point there, but we were the reason the fight even started. Let us assist you, Kiryu-san. Kiryu asks, assist me? Are you suggesting that we fight together? I don't think that's necessary. Akaishi says, I see. Okay then. How about letting me pay you for helping to get rid of that gang? Kiryu asks, pay me? No, sorry, I don't feel good about taking money from volunteers. But I appreciate the offer. Akaishi says, no, please, we get funding for our activities from various places. I had planned to use it to hire some professionals, actually. But I think you alone are equal to 12 infantry troopers. Please help us, Kiryu-san. Kiryu says, alright, if you insist. I guess I'll accept the offer. Akaishi says, thank you. After today, you're bound to see more of the gang come out and target you. Please be careful. Until next time. Gang encounters, Kiryu. That's all been added as a memo. The way I see it, should be hiding somewhere we don't expect, and where I least expect her to be is in the Mark Bowl. And from the looks of it, I would be wrong. Oh, can't go to the ladies either. There's something here. We got Taihei Boulevard locker key J4. Go us. Oh, not your laundry. Hang on. Here he thinks to himself, wait, is that... That is a very familiar trench coat running in that direction. Kiryu thinks to himself, there she is again. I don't know why she's running in high heels. I imagine that would be rather painful. Kiryu thinks to himself, where is she going? Further around into Theatre Square. Kiryu thinks to himself, damn it, looks like I lost her. Then he turns around, no, there. And we keep on in hot pursuit. Kiryu thinks to himself, it looks like she's headed toward Children's Park. And it looks like two blokes are in a hurry to get there with her. Better go take a look, he thinks again. I guess they've gone down the manhole. Kiryu bends down and thinks, did Yasuko-san really go in here? Only one way to find out.
Yabai. 誰か追いかけてきたみたいだ。ああ、一旦身を隠そう。どうやらすぐそばまでやってきてるな。ああ、上野の連中かもしれない。ここは俺らで食い止めるしかないだろうな。ああ。安子さん、あんたは先に行ってくれ。
え、行くってどこに？
この奥さ。
奥？
ああ、実はこの下水道、サイの河原って言われる場所に繋がってる。
サイの河原？
あんたもカムロ町に住んでたんなら聞いたことくらいはあるだろう。あのホームレスのたまり場だった西公園の地下のことだよ。
どうしてそこへ？
数日前、そのサイの河原であんたの兄貴らしき人を見かけたって情報があってな。昔のホームレス仲間から聞いた。今ならまだ間に合うかもしれない。追っ手の連中は俺らが食い止めておく。だから早く。これはもしものことがあったら使ってくれ。もしもの時のためだからね。それじゃ
秋山さんも谷村さんも気をつけて。
ああ、それじゃ
お前ら
上の清和会のやつか、それとも宗像の使いのやつか。
何を言ってるんだ。あの女をどこにやった？
リリちゃんならとっくに行っちゃったよ。
何？
おっと、ダメだよ。これ以上先には行かせないよ。
安子さんには指一本触れさせない。
さっきから何を言ってるんだ。俺はあの女を守る必要があるんだ。お前らに用はない。
守る？なんだそりゃ。誘拐するじゃないの？
それはお前らの方だろ。すべこべ言わずに道を開けろ。
って言ってますけど。どうするよ、谷村さん。
口では何とでも言えるさ。悪いが今は誰も信用できない。もし安子さんを追うっていうなら。
話し合う余地はなさそうだな。
ああ。
説明は後回しだ。お前らは悪い奴には見えないが、少し痛い思いをしてもらおうぜ。
言うね。
さあ、こっちはいつでもいいぞ。
覚悟はいいな。行くぞ。
Well, I suppose they did ask for this. Sorry, Tanemura, but you asked for it. Sponsored sushi. Ow. Naughty man. interesting meeting of animations there.
さあ、これで文句はないな。通させてもらうぜ。
くそ、何なんだあいつは。
Kiryu thinks to himself, need to find Yasuko-san fast. Someone around here must have seen her. Very likely. We'll just use another sponsored sushi to patch ourselves up a little bit. And then see what abilities. I'll take Lotus Flare Fist, a Lotus style fist attack that employs both body and soul. Strips the enemy of spiritual strength. Hold triangle longer than for a charge kick. We should also learn Wind Guard. Increased agility of Quick Step with the alacrity of the Wind God. Cannot use while holding weapons. X to Quick Step while not in heat mode. Lazarus Spirit depletes heat gauge but replenishes some health. L3 and R3 together in heat mode if health is flashing. Komaki Fist Reversal, a flowing technique used against attacking enemies. Only works for weaker enemies. Triangle against unarmed attack without fighting stance. Komaki Swordless Rebirth, an ancient technique from the samurai era. Komaki later changed this to a non-deadly move. We'll have Knockdown Reversal, a counterattack executed after being knocked away. Use it to get out of tight situations. Triangle while emitting white energy in midair. Reversal, an ancient throw executed when grabbed by enemies. Cannot execute in certain situations. Repeatedly tap circle when grabbed. And we'll take the Komaki Dodge Shot. An attack executed while quick-stepping. Technique effects differ based on direction. Triangle while quick-stepping. Alright, let's be on our way. Homeless man says, "Whoa, Kiryu-san. Never thought I'd run into you down here. Didn't even realize you were back in town." Kiryu asks, "Do I know you?" The homeless man laughs. "Much as you know any old homeless guy, I guess. I know you, though. Owe you a lot, in fact. You helped me out down in Purgatory before the Hills project kicked off. Then there was that whole snafu with the Dragon Palace." Kiryu says, "Huh. Well, alright then." The homeless man says, "By the way, you're going to need one of these puppies if you want to keep going. We got a manhole opener." The homeless man continues, "This doohickey here will open any old manhole you come across. Though some guy came through earlier, pried the freaking thing open with his bare hands. Hardly believe my eyes." "If you say so, sir." Wow, Purgatory is still frequented. In significant numbers. I mean, she's got to be here somewhere, right? No, didn't want to do that, but anyway. So yes, I just ran away from her. As you do. As you do. But at least if I cock up, there is something there. The drenched man says, I don't know why, but that lady was running like her life depended on it. Went right across this here bridge and hurried inside. Alright. That would obviously point to what we want.
Kiryu.
一体これどうなってんの？
安子さんは
連れて行かれちまったよ。
誰にだ？
桂木、それに木戸ってやつに。
は？
くそ、どうなってんだよ。
Right, well, we will call an end to this episode here. This time. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you in the next episode.